I'm Carol, this is Rooted in the Chart, and today we're going to talk about Gemini Rising. We're going to talk about what that looks like. We're going to talk about who rules it. We're going to talk about who it tends to pair up with in long-term relationships, and we're going to talk about some difficult transits you have coming up. So let's get into it. So the rising sign in your chart is one of the most visible things in your chart, okay? So it's like what you do just because it is who you are. It's not anything you do for any particular reason. So if you are a Gemini rising, what you just kind of are for no reason is just very, very smart, highly intelligent, playful. It can be indecisive, and it is something that can process information on a level that most people cannot. Career-wise, Gemini rising does not want to be bored. It really does not want to be in a boring work environment. It is looking for stimulation. It is looking for adventure. It is looking for change. And it's really looking for a place where it can compete when it comes to the mental challenges. So I have met Gemini risings in the EMT space, and I've met them in entrepreneurial spaces, but those are like the fundamental things that they're really looking for, because it's just their personality type, which means that for their career, they need something that works with that personality type. In its shadow, Gemini can be deceptive, so that's something to look out for and to keep your eye on. And another thing that is interesting to Gemini is that it can get very scattered, because it has this ability to process information that nobody else can process, just the sheer amount of it, that it can get to the point where it can't focus on one particular thing because there's just so much information flying around in their head. So sometimes what that looks like is it's like they just keep changing the subject and you can't really follow them, and they're talking so fast and it just feels like they're just kind of like a tornado of information. That means they're probably scattered and they need to take a break, calm down, and try and get to where they can focus that energy again. So that's definitely something to look out for. What does Gemini rising end up pairing up with? Well, it's true what they say, opposites attract. So the opposite of your rising sign is your descendant sign, and that tends to also be the person that you end up married to in a long-term relationship, because it is the things that you admire the most. So in the case of Gemini, that's a Sagittarius rising. Sagittarius is a fire sign. Sagittarius loves adventure. They love to go and expand themselves through higher education. They're always looking to better themselves. So that is who they're going to feel the most drawn to. I did a whole video on Sagittarius rising, linked in the description box below if you'd like to learn more about that personality. The ruler for Gemini rising is Mercury, and that's where all of that intelligence comes from, okay? So Mercury is the planet of thoughts, ideas, and intelligence, and that rules your chart. And because Mercury spends about 1 year going around the zodiac, it means that your chart ruler every year is going to touch every area and sign in your chart. Not every rising sign has this, so this is a unique thing to Gemini rising. Add an extra layer to this. What you want to do is you want to look at where Mercury is in your birth chart, okay? So whatever house and sign it's in is going to add another layer of depth to your rising sign. So you're going to have all those same things that Gemini rising always has, like being playful and communicative and super duper smart. But also, wherever Mercury is, let's say if it's in house 3 in maybe the sign of Taurus, then that means that in addition to all of that, there is going to be this extra layer of your identity that is very good at communicating, which is house 3, about maybe wealth and money and things related to material possessions, which is Taurus. So it adds an extra layer there. If you go do some research on it, you can kind of get a little bit more information. If you don't know what I'm talking about, no worries. I made a 5-part series to catch you up, linked in the description box below. So let's talk about the interesting transit that you have coming up sometime in the next 8 years. Uranus is right now tracking through Gemini, which means that Uranus is going to go over your ascendant. Uranus transits are disruptive, and they are about wanting to be authentic and free. So if you have this transit coming up sometime in the next 8 years, you're definitely going to feel it. I made a whole video going into depth on Uranus transits to kind of give you a heads up, like a survival guide, and that's linked in the description box below if you would like some more information. Individual readings are now open if you're interested and you want to go deeper in your chart. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. Like, subscribe, give me some feedback, let me know what you're thinking, and I hope to see you in the next video.